We continue the Marvel review series, this time looking at the first Avenger, Captain America. Captain America the Super Soldier was released in 2011 alongside the feature film. However, this game is not based on the plot found in the film. Instead, this plot takes place during the events of the film when Captain America and his Howling Commandos were taking out the Hydra bases. As usual, with Captain America being a movie-based tie-in, you'd probably already assume it's gonna suck. Hell, even I didn't have that much hope for this game when I picked it up. However, by the end I was pleasantly surprised at what the game had to offer, and I really enjoyed my time with it from start to finish. The story, as I mentioned, takes place during the montage scene in the film where Captain America led his team against Hydra. Cap learns from Peggy Carter that Hydra scientist Armin Zola is trying to replicate the super soldier serum for Hydra, and so Cap heads off to Zola's base, which happens to be an old castle in the mountains of Bavaria. While he's there, he comes across some iconic villains like Baron von Strucker, Madame Hydra, and there's even an appearance by the Red Skull. Cap will have to team up with his allies Bucky Barnes, Dum-Dum Dugan, and Montgomery Falsworth to put a stop to Hydra's plans. I actually really enjoyed the story. Seeing the other Captain America villains, aside from the ones that have been introduced in the film so far, was a nice addition. I was also pretty surprised that the game actually showed Arnim Zola's eventual transcendence into his robot body, which I thought was pretty cool. For an original story, Captain America the Super Soldier handles it pretty well. It might not have twists and turns, but if you're looking for a Captain America story where Cap lays the smackdown on Hydra, then you're gonna enjoy this. The gameplay is where Captain America really surprised me. The gameplay is very similar to the Batman Arkham games, with a few additions. You engage in hand-to-hand combat with enemies, dodging when you can, and countering after being attacked. Again, it's all very similar to the Arkham games. However, there are some cool additions that set it apart from that series. The game incorporates Cap's trademark shield in some really cool ways. You can time the shield right in order to reflect bullets back at enemies, or just block their attacks outright. You can throw the shield at multiple enemies, taking them all out in one hit, providing that you have enough power, of course. The power bar also allows for some really cool impact moves where Cap will automatically attack an enemy in a really cool way. During these moves, the camera focuses in and slows down as Cap inflicts damage, and it looks pretty badass. Combat also includes the standard quick-time events that you need to finish off some of the more powerful enemies and bosses. The other focus of the gameplay is the acrobatic segments. There are some areas in the game where you'll have to engage in parkour to make it through a section. The gameplay here has you timing the presses of the X button for Cap to keep moving. If you time it right, you can zip through these sections in a very fluid animation. Sometimes the X appears on the screen, and then sometimes it doesn't. When it's on screen, it's obviously much easier to perform the stunts and time out your button presses. When the X is not there, it's obviously harder to judge when you can press it, and you might not even know when you're supposed to. Though honestly, there's no penalty for pressing the button at the correct time. You don't fall down or have to restart or anything like that. You just stop your momentum for a second, and then you're back to continuing on your way. The part that really impressed me about the game was that it has a free roam element that's introduced at the end. Unlike other superhero games I've reviewed in the past, like the original Spider-Man game, or even like Iron Man that we just looked at, which have you moving from self-contained level to self-contained level, Super Soldier is actually open to some exploration. Near the end of the game, you arrive in a sewer system which can connect you back to every single area you've been to around the castle. So before the final fight, you can go back and re-explore each area. There's a ton of collectibles to find, like Hydra weapon blueprints, diary entries from Baron Zemo, Zola's film reel showing off his experiments, and for some reason, ceramic eggs. I don't know why. This ability to go back and research past areas is a great way of encouraging replay value, rather than the cheap way that these games tend to provide the replay value, which is just having you play the game over again on a higher difficulty setting. The presentation, though, does leave quite a bit to be desired. For a game that came out in 2011, Captain America looks like an early next-gen title from 2007. The environments look well enough, but the character models are another story. But it's really hard to take the cutscenes seriously when you have character models that look like this. The bright spot to the presentation is that several actors from the movie actually reprise their roles. Chris Evans, Neil McDonough, Sebastian Stan, Haley Atwell, and JJ Field do a really great job, and they definitely help bring some authenticity to the story. I hate when you get movie-based games and half of the characters are end up voiced by stand-ins doing terrible impressions of the real actor. I'm definitely looking at you, Harry Potter games. Another problem with the presentation is the frame rate, which seems to go into a nosedive during cutscenes for whatever reason. Add this to the poorly designed character model faces, and you've got a game that generally looks a tad unfinished in spots. Also, I guess I should mention that you can play Captain America the Super Soldier in 3D, providing you actually own a 3D TV, which, if you do, you might just want to rethink your priorities in life. Overall, if you like the Captain America movies and you want a game that captures the spirit of Captain America throwing his mighty shield, you should definitely consider picking this up. Despite the presentation looking a tad lackluster, I enjoyed the combat, the new abilities of the story, and I came away generally very surprised at how much I liked the game. As for movie-based tie-ins that are based on superhero movies, this game is probably right up there with the original Spider-Man game. It's not as great as, let's say, Spider-Man 2, but it does have its moments, and considering how about 99.8% of all movie-based games suck, when you find a decent one, it's definitely worth a look. Now, Captain America, both the game and the film, were released in the same year as another film and game in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So will that game be as good as Captain America? Is it possible for two decent movie-based games to exist in the same year without all of time and space collapsing in on itself? Well, we're going to find out next time when we look at Thor: God of Thunder. Thanks for watching.